motivation is you look at the modern digital camera, you go to Curry's, look at any one, and it will have a list of features. They'll almost always include some sort of autofocus, auto flash, red eye removal, face scene, motion detection, etc. Look at any basic audio recording device, and so I picked one at random. Luckily it's fuzzy enough that you can't see the exact brand. Interactively guides the new user as a fantastic feature. You can record anywhere. You can go outside and it'll still record, my God. And it's got a retry function, so in case you really screw up, you've got a sort of an undo button. There's a huge difference between the intelligence put into a camera or a camcorder and an audio recorder. Now they are very different beasts, definitely. But the idea is there is no autofocus for audio. So, can we do that? Well, there's a lot that goes into mixing and music production, but there are some things that are technical constraints. You know, you don't want acoustic feedback unless it's Mogwai or Hendrix or something like that, but generally you don't want acoustic feedback for things, so that's something acoustic that you can deal with. And there's a lot of the artistic, the creative work as well. But even if you look at the more creative stuff, a lot of it is done over and over again. I'm not saying the majority, but a lot of it is sort of common practice. You know, most people would put, say, the levels of the vocalist 3-5 dBs above a lot of the other things going on in the mix. So, what can you try to automate, being adventurous here? Well, you can definitely do the technical stuff, but then if you look at the artistic stuff, is it really art? Some of it's still engineering. And the only stuff that I would say you definitely can't do are the uncommon practice. There's creative things that will differ with every producer. That's an awful lot of stuff, but there's still an awful lot of stuff that you can try to automate as well. So, we've been constructing intelligent systems for sound engineering. That means systems that will configure their own parameter settings, as you saw with the compressor, dynamically adapt to audio inputs and changing sound scenes, exploit best practices in sound engineering. If we know the vocals are put 3 dBs higher, we'll embed that into the software to make it do that. And our conditions are, these need to be things usable by the amateur and expert. They make a lot more sense in live sound, where even the professional, if they are mixing live, can't manipulate everything at the same time as a single person to the level that very intelligent software can in, say, getting sample accuracy and removing comb filtering. Now, there's no claim being made that the software can do the creative things, but live sound you can see, whereas post-production, much more challenge, because a human could spend days working on getting a perfect mix. But we are trying to at least create tools for post-production that assist or help in doing things. And we want things that can be used in live, so they need to be real-time with minimal latency, and they need to be stable. We can't be introducing feedback. So looking at creating two types of things: tools for sound engineers that automate the repetitive stuff for them, and sort of a black box system so a musician can come in, say, in a practice session and get a decent recording out of what they've been doing without needing a sound engineer there while they're practicing to do a professional mix for them. So what does this use? Well, it uses what's known as cross-adaptive audio effects. You've all heard of VST. VST2, the main version that most people use, that's the standard for building audio effects, the most common standard, and it's true of the other standards as well. But they take as most 2 channels of audio coming in. Why do they take 2? So they can work with stereo. Add in some phasing or flanging or distortion or whatever, and output at most 2 channels of audio. 2 for stereo, 1 for mono. But in order to have automatic mixing, we need to look at all the channels coming in, figure out how to set the levels between them, and come out with the right output mix. So we need across adaptive effects. We need sidechain processing so that we do all the analysis on the side, don't delay the signal massively. We need to extract features, get an idea of the loudness of the signal, for instance. We need to embed these rules about how sound engineering is done. And then there's a few other tricks that we use, like having reference microphones so we know the idea of the background noise if we're working in, say, live sound. So, skipping ahead a bit, let's give some examples. It's getting on close to 8 o'clock, so I'll jump to the first example, that I really want to show. This is automatic faders and gain control. So, this should be pretty self-explanatory. There'll be words at the bottom, but basically the signal is going to come in and no attempt to set the levels. And then the system is going to start listening. We'll just turn on setting the gains, and so it'll calculate what the 0 dB is for each of the input signals. And then it will try and adjust the faders to sort of get the signals to blend in nicely together. Set the gains, not yet the faders, but you'll see the faders will change in the interface in a minute.
Yesterday is gone now and panic sets in with a weight upon my chest and a ghost upon my back and the numbing sensation of everything I like. It leaves me dreaming, you're real.
And they start to converge the values, but then the levels change drastically, so they correct it. Point out something in the interface. The drums, channels 2 and 3, they've got little red lights next to them. What we're trying to do is set the loudness of all of the signals to be within a reasonable range. So if one of the input channels, say the second guitar, is too quiet, we're boosting that. If the vocals are screamingly loud, that's being reduced. But the drums, we can't set the levels right because they're changing too wildly. So that's actually telling us we need an automatic compressor. And it's indicating how much compression to use. So yeah, that's the idea of automatic gain and fader control. Automatic, well, let's do this one, time offset corrector. So we have comb filtering, and along with comb filtering, there's polarity problems. You can record a kick drum on the inside and the outside, blend them together, you get a nice sound, but then you're adding 2 copies of the same signal. One of them can be like that, the other one can be inverted. The polarity changed cancels out completely, at least for that frequency. And so you can have the comb filtering where you just have microphones at different distances, you can have polarity problems. So 8 microphones around a piano, so massive amounts of comb filtering. We're going to try and realign all the signals, fix the polarity, and we'll turn this automatic feature on and off. So you should hear the difference. So it's comb filtered at the moment. That's fixed. Turned it off, and he'll turn it back on again once more. So the student who worked with me on this particular device here, he's under a non-disclosure agreement, so he can't tell you anything about this, but I'm not covered by that agreement, so I can tell you. So expect to see something like this in mixing consoles by SSL in the next couple of years.